Chapter 31. And he heard the words of Lavan's sons, saying, Yaakov has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belonged to our father he has made all this wealth. And Yaakov would look at the face of Lavan, and see that it was not toward him as before. And Yahweh said to Yaakov, Return to the land of your fathers, and to your relatives, and I am with you. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field, to his flock, and said to them, I see your father's face, that it is not toward me as before, but the Elohim of my father has been with me. And you know that I have served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but Elohim did not allow him to do evil to me. When he said this, the speckled are your wages, then all the flocks bore speckle. And when he said this, the streak are your wages, then all the flocks bore streak. So Elohim has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. And it came to be at the time when the flocks conceived that I lifted my eyes and looked in a dream and saw the rams which leaped upon the flocks were streaked, speckled, and mottled. And the messenger of Elohim spoke to me in a dream, saying, Yaakov, and I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift your eyes now and see. All the rams which leap on the flocks are streaked, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all that Lavan is doing to you. I am the El of Bethel, where you anointed the standing column, and where you made a vow to me. Now rise up, get out of this land, and return to the land of your relatives. And Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not reckoned by him as strangers? For he has sold us, and also entirely consumed our silver. For all the wealth which Elohim has taken from our father are ours, and our children's. Now then, do whatever Elohim has told you. So Jacob rose and put his sons and his wives on camels, and he drove off all his livestock and all his possessions which he had acquired, his property of the livestock which he had acquired in Padan Aram, to go to his father Yitzchak in the land of Canaan. And when Lavan had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole the house idols that were her father's. And Jacob stole the heart of Lavan the Aramean, because he did not inform him that he was about to flee. And he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river, and headed toward the mountains of Gilead. And on the third day, Lavan was told that Yaakov had fled. Then he took his brothers with him and pursued him for 7 days' journey, and he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But in a dream by night, Elohim came to Lavan the Aramean and said to him, Guard yourself that you do not speak to Yaakov, either good or evil. Then Lavan overtook Yaakov. Then Yaakov had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Lavan with his brothers pitched in the mountains of Gilead. And Lavan said to Yaakov, What have you done, that you have stolen my heart, and driven my daughters off like captives, taken with the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me, and not inform me, and I would have sent you away with joy and songs, with tambourine and lyre? And you did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Now you have been foolish to do this. It is in the power of my hand to do evil to you. But the Elohim of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Guard yourself that you do not speak to Yaakov either good or evil. And now you have gone because you greatly long for your father's house. But why did you steal my mighty ones? And Yaakov answered and said to Lavan, Because I was afraid, for I said, Lest you tear your daughters away from me. With whomever you find your mighty ones, let him not live. In the presence of our brothers, see for yourself what is with me and take it with you. For Yaakov did not know that Rachel has stolen them. And Lavan went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tents of the 2 female servants, but he did not find them. And he came out of Leah's tent, and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the house idols, and put them in the camel saddle, and sat on them. And Lavan searched all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my master, that I am unable to rise before you, for the way of woman is with me. And he searched, but did not find the house idols. And Yaakov was wroth, and contended with Lavan. And Yaakov answered and said to Lavan, What is my transgression? What is my sin? What you have hotly pursued me? Now that you have searched all my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? Put it here before my brothers and your brothers, and let them decide between the 2 of us. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried their young, and I have not eaten the rams of your sheep. That which was torn by beasts I did not bring to you. I myself bore the loss of it. You required it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. I was by day, the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the Elohim of my father, the Elohim of Abraham, and the O of Yitzchak had been with me, you would not have sent me away empty-handed. Elohim has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rendered judgment last night. And Lavan answered and said to Yaakov, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children. And this flock is my flock, and all that you see is mine. But what shall I do today to these, my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? And now, come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and it shall be a witness between you and me. So Yaakov took a stone and put it up as a standing column. And Yaakov said to his brothers, Gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there on the heap. And Lavan called it Yegar Sahaduta, but Yaakov called it Galed. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between you and me today. That is why its name was called Galed. Also Mitzpah, because he said, Let Yahweh watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take other wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, Elohim is witness between you and me. And Lavan said to Yaakov, See this heap, and see this standing column, which I have placed between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this standing column is a witness, that I do not pass beyond this heap to you, and you do not pass beyond this heap and this standing column to me for evil. The Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Nahor, and the Elohim of their father rightly rule between us. And Yaakov swore by the oath of his father Yitzchak, and Yaakov brought an offering on the mountain, and called his brothers to eat bread. And they ate bread and spent the night on the mountain. And Lavan rose up early in the morning, and kissed his sons and daughters, and baraked them. And Lavan left and returned to his place. Chapter 32. And Yaakov went on his way, and the messengers of Elohim met him. And when Yaakov saw them, he said, "This is the camp of Elohim." And he called the name of that place Makanaim. And Yaakov sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "Say this to my master Esau, your servant Yaakov said this, I have sojourned with Lavan, and stayed there until now. And I have bulls and donkeys, flocks and male and female servants, and I have sent to inform my master, to find favor in your eyes." So the messengers returned to Yaakov, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men with him." And Yaakov was greatly afraid and distressed, so he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks and herds and camels into 2 groups. And he said, "If Esau comes to the one group and attacks it, then the other group which is left shall escape." And Yaakov said, "O Elohim of my father Abraham and Elohim of my father Yitzchak, Yahweh who said to me, 'Return to your land and to your relatives, and I do good to you.' I do not deserve the least of all the kind acts and all the truth which you have shown your servant, for I passed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become 2 groups. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and shall smite me and the mother with the children. For you said, I shall certainly do good to you, and shall make your seed as the sand of the sea, which are too numerous to count." And he spent the night there, and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau his brother: 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 foals. And he gave into the hand of his servants every drove by itself, and said to his servants, "Pass over before me, and put some distance between drove and drove." And he commanded the first one, saying, "When Esau my brother meets you, and asks you, saying, 'To whom do you belong, and where are you going, and whose are these in front of you?' Then you shall say, 'They are your servant Jacob's. It is a present sent to my master Esau. And see, he also is behind us.'" So he commanded the second and the third, and all who followed the droves, saying, "Speak to Esau this same word when you find him. And you shall say also, 'Look, your servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, Let me appease him with the present that goes before me, and after that see his face, he might accept me.'" And the present passed over before him, but he himself spent the night in the camp. And he rose up that night, and took his 2 wives, and his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford of Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the stream, and sent over what he had. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. And when he saw that he did not overcome him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was dislocated as he wrestled with him. And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But he said, "I am not letting you go until you barak me." So he asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Yaakov." And he said, "Your name is no longer Yaakov, but Yisrael, because you have striven with Elohim and with men, and have overcome." And Yaakov asked him, saying, "Please let me know your name." And he said, "Why do you ask about my name?" And he baraked him there. And Yaakov called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. And the sun rose on him as he passed over Penuel, and he limped on his hip. That is why the children of Israel to this day do not eat the sinew of the hip, which is on the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of the thigh of Yaakov in the sinew of the hip.